Dum 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 dum. Welcome to another episode of The Hobby. Today we are going to do something that we don't normally do when we cover board games on any kind of content creator's channel, and that is getting rid of games. We're very happy to acquire new games and unbox new games, but at the end of a life cycle of a board game comes the culling. And that is when you get rid of board games that no longer serve you, that no longer bring you joy or are no longer fun, and hence the number 0, which means that we are going to cull down all our games in 3 stacks that you'll see in a minute to our left, down to 0. And we're going to put them into 3 categories. Categories that we still want to address and play for one last time. The more frigid area of we are going to get rid of them immediately, and the void is eventually no one is going to get them because I'm going to cannibalize them for parts. Now, sensitive viewers may want to look away because this means that we're really going to cut down on the games, and talking about, let's go over here and see what games they are. And these are the games that we are going to get rid of today. 36 in total, stacked roughly together in 3 piles. Games that have no significant campaign or no story. Games that do have a little bit of story, but still no real campaign to speak of. And campaign games with story, which are always the hardest to do away with. Now, we're going to look at these 36. We're going to put them here on the slaughtering block of the table, and we're going to let Lady Fortuna judge whether or not they go. All right, let's get started. So Lady Fortuna is going to watch over the judgment of what we're going to do with the games. Let's get a first few smaller games onto the chopping block. Okay, so we made 3 stacks. Once again, the games with no campaign, no story, some with no campaign, some story, or light campaigns, and some are definitely campaign games with story. Let's go through them and see what patterns we can deduce from them. Okay, Light in the Dark. Let's do that one first. A solo dungeon crawl game set in the world of Pest. I picked this one up at Spiel in Essen. It was a bargain. I think I paid like 10 euros for it. And yeah, it's kind of just a dungeon crawl game. Let's see. It has some cards of characters in there. It has some terrain. And I always like the combination of characters, terrain, and events. Yeah, you go through the terrain, but there's no real story, I think, to it. There's bosses that you fight, wolf packs, some simple tokens, a few items that will help you on your quests, and a little rule booklet. Well, the reason I started off with these small games is because I can fairly easily make judgments on them. I don't really do small games anymore, so the few games that I eventually want to keep in my collection will probably be somewhat bigger, more epic, story-driven games, because that is the reason why I still play games these days, is to enjoy the story. So this one, I don't even see any reason to keep any of the components. This one is just going to go into the giveaway pile. So that will go over there. Next up, Endangered Orphans. They're very promising certifiable studios. I really liked their D6, which regretfully is also on the chopping block. But they are just full of humor. There's stuff on the inside of the box. I'm not sure if you can read it, but it says stuff like, "At certifiable when it comes to games we don't play." That's funny. "May cause indignation when those who feel illustrated orphans lacking fingers should not be depicted in harmful scenarios. Should you experience similar symptoms, relax, it's just a game." So they have a good sense of humor, and I do like their productions. Regretfully, their games are often a little bit wonky or a little bit faulty. This was a very simple card game where you had places that you go around and you with your orphan, and you just basically just try not to get killed by this malevolent dude that was coming after you. And again, nice production, nice miniatures and whatnot. Now I had thought to use whatever components were in here for my D6 sort of role-playing game as a board game adventure, which we'll see a little bit later. But there is a project that I'll link down below that you can go visit on Board Game Geek. The art is cool. And there it just lays out my process. I got pretty far with the process, but I still had to write like stories that I just couldn't get around to doing. And so that project, unfortunately, went belly up. So yeah, nice cards. Cute art. And it only got better with certifiable studios. I don't know where they are right now, if they're even still in business, as so many studios are going out of business. But it has standees in there. Like you can see there's actually some D6 wooden tokens in there that I put in there that actually don't belong in there. But yeah, cute enough game. Miniatures. If you want to paint them up, I did not bother with them. Again, a small game. It was never my intention to really hold on to this. I just really wanted to use this for a different game for components, but seeing that that game is going on the chopping block as well, this game is going in its entirety. Endangered Orphans, Endangered No More. Okay, the second stack. Forest of Fate. One of my very, very first games that I got on my second tenure of the hobby, of coming back to the hobby and really wanting to explore what creativity was out there. Very small, cute little game, very story driven, very choose your own adventure. You basically go around table and you go to locations that you lay out with these cards, and you basically make a choice of what you want to do on those cards, and you have different abilities, some weaker, some stronger, so you choose what is the most wisest for you. And then in a book, which I have somewhere, together with this book, which has all the entries of your choose adventure choices in it, you basically try to survive until you get to your home card. And here I can show a few of these. The art, I think, was just plucked from royalty-free websites before the dawn or the apocalypse of AI, really. And yeah, he just basically put some filters over it and then applied it to it. But this is the game, and this is the finishing tile. Let's see, the finishing post where you calculate your score. So it was a little bit of a score game, which is fine. I had some fun with it. I usually brought it with me on vacations and stuff. So what I might do is give it one more go, maybe play it on vacation and then give it away. We'll see. Triplock. Chip Theory Games' least popular game, and of course I had to have it. It comes with this standard quality of components, neoprene mats. You mind you, everything in a very small format. You get some heavy weighted chips that represents the locks that you're trying to pick. Some dice that came with it. I added the gears and the beads, the cards, of course plastified cards. And the idea was that you would try to trip a lock. Oh, yeah, sorry. This was the lock, of course. So you put the chips on here and you would flip the chips according to if you were able to unlock them. You would have missions that were written on these cards. You would have tricks that you could do. Points that you would score because of it, because Chip Theory Games is not a Chip Theory game if it doesn't work around points and the challenge, succeeding. But you would also have a little bit of story. You'd have some characters that you would play that you could choose from. Some good representation there as well. Yeah, and then a little bit of scenarios, even locations. So all in all, everything that I kind of like. It has locations, characters, events. But ultimately, it's a small box game, and sorry for being judgmental, but small games just don't cut it anymore. I used to add this to Machina Arcana as a sort of a prologue to a prologue, sorry, to an adventure, and that, because it's all steampunk driven and everything, yeah, it was fun. Just made the game really a little bit longer. The fun has left the building, and my CTG game to go to nowadays is the Elder Scrolls, which I will also be heavily modifying. Not with this though, so this will go be a giveaway. Grimslingers. This is going to hurt my dear friend Heathen a lot. I'm sorry, Heathen. For a long time, I have pondered keeping this game, using it for different purposes. I wanted to make an ultimate Wild West or Weird West game, because there's for instance, a miniature of Shadows of Brimstone in there that I use as a character. This game has all the bare bones of a good campaign game, adventure game. Dice that I also modified. You just basically look a little bit more, what you would call it, a little bit more weathered, bone and metal. But yeah, I don't know. This game is essentially a card game that you can play PvP. You're playing two gunslingers who fight it out in this weird west. You have all these really interesting, very interesting art cards and Weird West items that you can gather. It's a very interesting game, but it's a lot to get through. Each time I have to get the rule book and learn how to work it again. I have to read a lot to get through the adventure, through the campaign, because there is a miniature campaign that is attached to this. The fact that I have to go through everything now shows how sort of chaotic it is and discombobulated. But like, this was the original map, which was just a point crawler. You go from point to point, and you have events, and you have foes that you fight against with those cards. You duel with them, and then eventually they made the single creator, whose name is Stephen Gibson. I've talked to Stephen Gibson online on Discord. He's a really nice guy. He's good ambitions, but the sequel or the improvement of this sort of is taking its time, and I just don't have time anymore to sit this one out. But yeah, so there was a map which I kind of printed out here in some shape or form. I think at least this is based on the map that they had. I may have combined this with some other elements, but I tried to make it more thematic. I tried to make it more campaign style. This was actually a hobbyist's dream, because you could do a lot with this to hobby on it. But there comes a time where you are just have to pull a plug on stuff. And so, as nice as this is of a game, I'm going to get rid of it. But unfortunately, I'm also not going to give it away, because there are ingredients in here that I do want to use. I want to reuse those dice. I want to reuse some of the cards, the map, for instance, because I do think that I want to make my ultimate Wild West experience at some point. So I'm going to cannibalize this. 4 parts. Legends Untold. Okay, Legends Untold from an Irish company. This has also been on my shelf for maybe 7 years now. It's been an old one. Also, again, kind of like some of these other games that you see already out there, small boxed, but it holds a lot of promise. It has locations that you go through, and actually a very fun system of locations where you take a card, you lay them out next to another card, and you try to form like a map. So this one has a tunnel going here, and so you would form another tunnel continuing it, and then you would form another tunnel coming from it, and so on and so on. And each time when you enter the location, you would look at the icons, you would see what challenges you had to overcome, or things you would find, or even foes that you would have to fight. Very basic standard stuff, I want to say, but a nice entry point into the dungeon crawl experience, especially because it's in such a small box itself, if it weren't for the rules. The rules are brutal. They are very unintuitive. It's very dense and crunchy. And yeah, that's not what I'm looking for these days anymore. also, if I pick this game up, if I play it one more time, I would still have to reread the rules again and try to figure out what is what. This is definitely a more complicated game, and the premise is still the same. You go into an area, a very typical fantasy environment, you collect items that make you stronger. It's all very medieval, low magic inspired, which a lot of people seem to like. Yeah, it's not a bad product per se, and they have, I think, 2 more boxes that they came out with since, but they're all sort of like just repeating the same theme. No, sorry, the theme is different, but they repeat the same concepts. And because there's no real campaign, there's no real story attached to it, it just feels like these one-offs, you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. See, this, for instance, is sewers. So now you're connecting sewers to one another. And I think that at some point there was actually a map in here that I think connected them to it. Yeah, here, how to play the Great Sewers Cinematic Campaign. So you can actually go through it if you survive long enough, because the game is also pretty brutal. There is some text involved. Yeah, I think there was like a whole city that you were trying to get into, and you could try either through the caves and then through the sewers, and then the next level would be the dungeons or you know, the alleyways or something like that. And so you would make your way all the way up into the city to the top. But like I said, it's more of the same, small box. It has the right ingredients, characters, events, and locations, but it's also not very engaging or memorable after you've played it. So what to do with this? I did see that there is some story in it. I may actually, so yeah, maybe one more time. Time stories. Oof, what can we say about time stories? So much. It used to be my #1 game. This is pretty much almost 5 to I don't know, 7 years ago. They had I think it was the white line called. They wanted to do a white line, a blue line, and a red line, basically, of scenarios that you would play that would slightly have a different angle to it in each line. And this is the blue line. The white line got a lot of criticism for gameplay mechanics that just weren't attached enough to the story in a way that you could skip the story elements if you had to replay it again, because you had to replay it in order to win it. And so the mismatch of gameplay and narrative was a little bit disconcerting, and people stopped playing it. And so the white line started off on a rocky start. They tried to add a sort of an overall campaign box that's called the experience to it, and then have smaller boxes that no longer used mats or a board that you played on, but basically just cards. So you would lay out these cards, and you can see I haven't even played this one. I played the first 2, I think, but yeah, this one I haven't cracked open yet. So that's definitely going to go into that pile, because I'll play it one more time. But I can open it very quickly here just to show you. It's going to be an unboxing after all. Who knew? So you would get like these cards, and they would be, I think there's also like location. Yeah, so you would have like these scenes that you would put out, like these tableaus, and they would form like this long tableau, and you would then put your character on there, and you would go explore it, and they would flip it over, and then something would happen, and you would do a test. And yeah, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure, but through a visual graphic novel. I'm spoiling now everything basically of this game now, but yes, it was fun enough and interesting enough. So there is story that's on here, characters that you see, smaller maps that you can roam around in, and there's Donkey from Shrek, I guess, and some other stuff. It was a great concept, but the execution was a little bit poor. Experience added these kind of like these crystals to it, and a sort of a campaign, like I said, where you would play the character who jumps into the characters in time, and those characters would have their own sheets. Yeah, so this overall kind of concept of like, okay, you are these characters, and they also have their own stories, basically, to tell beyond the scenario that you jump into. And I don't know, it was okay. I didn't like this more than the first series, but what I particularly didn't like, I guess, was the fact that eventually this system just no longer was supported. Yeah, it's a shame that this sort of got stranded on the shores of lack of popularity and also, yeah, kind of a faulty design and a very uneven release schedule. I think this is the last one that they ever released. There may have been one more sort of a print and play, and I haven't heard anything from these guys anymore. So I'll play it one more time because I specifically haven't played that one yet, and then yeah, it will go away. Okay, the Crusoe Crew. Talk about choose your own adventures. This is very much a graphic novel choose your own adventure, or maybe it's a puzzle box because I can't seem to open it. Like, oh, it's a magnetic cover. Okay, so I'm obviously trying to destroy it here. But okay, so pirates. I love pirates. I love this theme. I think it's very cute. And this system, I couldn't even get in Europe, I think. I think I picked this one up when I was visiting the States. But 4 books, and you play it with 4 people. And therein lies already the first obstacle, because I am just one person, so I don't play games that are for more than one person. But so the idea was that every player gets their own book. And let me just grab these 2 books, for example, and you can see they're identical, or are they? Well, this first page may be, but let's go to a different page, like say this one. The story would start off the same. The story, I think, is the same, but the choices you make in the story are different. So you can see that they're, okay, so this page is probably not the best page, but you can see that there's numbers here. Now, this number doesn't have to be necessarily in the second book, because maybe this character is not as observant as the other character, or has an affinity for, you know, everything that grows and not things that are constructed. So this guy, sorry, this woman may actually find something that's not in the other book. And so you would have these books opposite each other. You would play this game, and then you sort of talk to each other like, hey, I see something. Oh, wait, what? I don't. So you are literally doing something differently here in this scene than that person is doing in that scene. So there you go. So that's something different that you would be doing maybe. But you can see there are 4 books, and so I would either be juggling 4 books in order to play this game, or find someone who knows someone, and then together with 4 people just play it. It's a good concept. G&A makes nice choose your own adventure books, and I do have a few that I would rather play because they are truly solo. This one, I just think I'm just going to give away. I'm not even going to try it because, yeah. And the final of the small games. Unlock. I love Unlock. Cartoon Saloon made an Unlock that is my last one that I have on my shelf. It's also an Unlock Kids, so that means it's the themes are a little bit friendlier. The game is maybe a little bit easier. Also Space Cowboys, there you go. So I do like what Space Cowboys does. And the Unlock series are exceptional. They are my favorite escape room boxes. And that's not just because you don't destroy anything in it, but they are just well thought out constructs. And this one is probably one of the best. And it has to do also with the Cartoon Saloon trilogy of movies. This is the book of Kells, The Song of the Sea, and Wolfwalkers. And you're playing through those adventures. And now anyone who's played an escape game knows that they come with cards that you have to like resolve. And this one comes with like codes that you have to like line up. There's even a foil in there that you can manipulate. So there's like these little extras in the game that make it that much more interesting. Rule books I don't even have to like go through anymore nowadays because it is so intuitive. And if you've played one Unlock game, you don't even need the hints or anything. It's fairly self-explanatory. And then each one of the stories comes with their own little extras in it. So look at that. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of beautiful artwork when you go to Cartoon Saloon's products and the movies that they make, the animations. They're very awesome. Now I played this, but I put them back in here because it's always nice to punch out boards. I haven't played all 3 of them though. I think I've played like maybe 2 of them. So yeah, so this is definitely something that I just want to finish the 3rd one and then give it away lovingly to someone who loves escape rooms, who loves to play these things. This is definitely not something that I would either cannibalize or destroy straight up, because why? It's a perfectly good game all by itself. Okay, so giveaway. And that are the first 2, 4, 6, 7, first 10 games. We still have 26 to go. Are you still with me? Let's do the next batch, why don't we? Okay, so let's take the next 3. Let's start off with The Great Race. These next 3 are somewhat historical games. The Great Race I loved because of the idea of 80 days around the world and rally car races of ye old times. And I figured this was a really nice production. And it really is. It reeks of just like care and love that went into researching and designing these games. And basically what it is that you drive these cars with either famous characters from history, and you drive them in routes around the world. And it's a very slow kind of paced racing game. You get like a little dashboard, which shows you the front of your screen. Other people can see who you are, which rally team you are. You got some stats on the side, and you can immediately see why this might not appeal to me, because it kind of plays as a gameplay, mechanical, tactical, or strategy game, like a Euro game, because there's stats involved and points and stuff. And that might deter me. And in fact, it is one of the reasons why I might be doing away with it. Oof, sorry about that. But they have like these cute little cars and meeples, and all in the color of your team. And there's like 10 teams or so. There's like a French team, a Russian team, a British team, a Belgian one, a German one. And all these teams you can pick to race against each other around the world. Now let's get to the around the world business. Oh yeah, so we'll get to these in a minute, I guess, but these are tokens that you find on your way on the board and indicate if there is like difficult terrain to get through, or a breakdown of your vehicle, or something similar. Let's see if I can actually find that instead of this. It's a very densely packed box, which is also part of the reason why some of these games are going. Yeah, I can feel on the weight of this that these are actually the maps. More stuff, more tokens. Like they have like these small little things like a passport. Okay, that's kind of cute. I think this is like a part of a campaign that you can do of going around the world. There's obviously different continents. Yeah, here you see, for instance, a picture of the map. This would be Asia, of course. And then there's one in America. Now let me just try and see if I can find the board itself. These are the game rules. There's not a lot to it, but it's not definitely a race game like Heat. It's not fast and quick. This is slow and steady. See, they have all these thematic things like an actual gazette. You can read some stories and the plot that's going on. No, and these are the boards. Okay, so say that you were in Latin America. You play on this board, and you would play probably somewhere up there to go all the way down here. The other side is, for instance, Africa. So you can go from here all the way up there, and you would follow, like on these spots, there would be tokens on these spots, and your little car would be planning out a route to get from one place to another. You could even grab like a ferry from Djibouti to Cairo, for instance. That would cost you a lot of money. So you have to manage resources of money and how well your vehicle is actually doing. The concept is still very enchanting. It's very nice, but it's definitely also a group game. So yeah, you have these nice little historical race game, which can be very fun to do, but it's not a story game. It's not a campaign game per se. It's just a one-off race game where you play against each other. Components are nice, but I wouldn't know what to do with any of these components, considering that components that I cannibalize, they would go into other games of the same genre or same theme. And so seeing that I don't have any historical games, let alone story games that I would be playing, I think this one would just be in the giveaway pile. One that's definitely going to get cannibalized is The Few and the Cursed. Philippe Cagno and Fabiano Neves have made this excellent series of comic books, graphic novels with red head in it, or red. And they're very nice to read. I have, I think, several of them. And so they decided to make a board game that's all around it. And this is basically a point crawl or a open world exploration, but not truly open world. You can see the quality is just, it's nice. It feels like an in-game artifact. And I wanted to combine this with Grimslingers and Shadows, sorry for the noise. And with Shadows of Brimstone, I wanted to make the ultimate Wild West game where I would use the magical combat of Grimslingers. I would use the miniatures and sort of the locale, because the location is just very enticing. You just saw the map. These are the miniatures, for instance. I'll show these as well. The miniatures are pretty darn cool. I like them. And so, yeah, you fight like these bosses. And I lovingly painted up the miniatures. I punched out all the components, but I have not played this game a single time. Like, seriously, I haven't played it once. And so it's definitely something that needs to be culled in one way, shape, or fashion. So I am going to cull it, but I am going to cannibalize it. There's not much to say about this game. It's a fairly simple, you move to a location, you try to get stronger, and then you defeat your foes and the bosses eventually. And whoever does that the fastest, or whoever does that the best, they win the game. And it's just a one-off game. And everyone knows that I don't really do one-offs anymore. So onto the cannibalization pile. Okay, and then the third one of our historical non-campaign, non-game games is Senjutsu. I had so high hopes for this one. I really did. When I got it, at one point I was completely in love with the feudal Japanese theme of it all. I really liked the idea, the concept of PvP battler, but there are solo rules, so you can simulate your opponent. And it's a tactical skirmish, essentially, but one where there's only 2 miniatures involved. And so the combat is very intricate. It's a little bit of bluffing. It's a little bit of trying to guesstimate what the next person will do. And it has comics. It has a comic book scenario campaign, a mini campaign, where you go through the story and you then intermittently have these little fights that you play out on a little hex grid. And I thought everything about this game was cool. When it first was launched, I thought, okay, it's a very concise game. Then it became something more complex with a lot more components, a lot more extras that came with it, which made it bloated and seemed like it wasn't worth it anymore. And eventually, I think I laid pledged for it because I thought, well, this is still the type of theme that I like, the type of game that I would like to explore and see if this is something that I would like. See, here's like a whole battle scenario. And nowadays you have games like Harakiri, you have the up-and-coming boss battler Ronin from Dragori, and I still have Aqua Chronicles, despite the fact that Red Joker has gone belly up. I still have their original game, and I like those games. I do. So why would I then satisfy myself basically with what is just a battle on a map, even though the miniatures are absolutely gorgeous? I mean, they truly are. There's terrain in here, cardboard terrain, but then the extras that came with it actually also created like miniature terrain in it. And nothing has been painted because I didn't see the point of painting any of this. It came with metal tokens in it, very nice, even a nice little coin. So the production was really nice of this thing. It was just tactical games, just tactical skirmish. And so I wanted to do something with this. Yeah, I can show you actually. Oh, these are some of the cards. So these are some of the tactics cards. And they're very abstract. They just show you basically what the maneuvers are. And you would draw a few of these and you play them out against your opponent and maneuver around each other to see if you could attack each other or defend or run away. And so the solo version of this is sometimes a little inane because you would have a character against you who would always come after you, but sometimes do stupid stuff like run into a corner and just like keep on bonking up against the corner. And I'm not much for a challenge player anyway, but there are like different characters. There's like Western characters in here. There are different types of feudal Japanese characters in there. So it's an ambitious project that I don't think really covers the load. There's too much in this box to actually warrant just a tactical game. And if you're really into tactical games, it's great. If you have someone to do those games with, it's even better, because that's really what this game is meant for. For a solo player who wants to play a campaign, a narrative campaign, this just won't cut it. Now, there are things, excuse me, there are things in here that I would like to cannibalize, but I'm also not sure if I want to do that because someone might really enjoy this game. So, not sure yet. The excuse is usually to just play it one more time and see how I feel about it, but I know that I'm going to do away with it. Let's be honest, culling is brutal. I'm going to cull it, but I'm going to use some parts out of it, so it's going to go onto the cannibalization pile. Next batch. Okay, whew. Now we're getting into the big games. It's a lot of work to carry all these games and put them on here, so intermittent cutting is involved. A drink. Drinks are important, and this drink goes out to me because I have no one to buy me a potion. That's okay. Water is also healthy. Shipwreck Arcana. I found one small game tucked away. This is actually one of the first 3 games or 5 games that I actually got. This was when I was basically on Kickstarter back in 2017. And I just figured, let's just see what games are out there, which ones are cool looking. And boy, this game delivers in that aspect. Just look at the art. I adjusted the light a little bit just because I realized that as I'm holding up stuff, it's probably pretty dark and you can't see anything. But just now you can see the glory that is Shipwreck Arcana. These cards are absolutely gorgeous. I love these cards. In fact, I don't think I'm actually going to do away with this game because I can reuse those cards as sort of tarot cards. And so, and these tokens, wooden tokens, they're nice for counters. They have nice numbers on them. They feel nice. They come even in a little baggie. And this game is just begging to be cannibalized for other purposes. And as much as that I would give this game to someone else, I don't think that most people would appreciate a game that's essentially just about numbers and trying to figure out mathematically if you're above a certain number or below a certain number. It's a cooperative game, 20 minutes, 2 to 5 players. It's fun, but I want to use some of those components. So cannibalization pile. I keep saying cannibalization, but that's not a word. Tapestry. I can be very short about Tapestry. Everyone kind of knows what Tapestry is about. It's a Stonemaier game, so it's a Euro game. It's about victory points. I hate victory points. I made actually a narrative addition to Tapestry where you can read the story of your civilization by each round judging how many points you've had and looking up on this table what would happen in your society. And so you would use your association skills to create the story around your civilization. I thought that was pretty neat. I don't know how many people have downloaded that particular thing from BGG. I'll put the link in below as well. But this was my attempt to add some narrative to a Euro game. It's kind of what I've also done with Vindication. But that's a story for another time. Vindication is not in the giveaway pile just yet. But yeah, so like I said, everyone knows Tapestry, I think. Oh yeah, so here's the table, for instance. Scribe and Sketches is called. So I made all these narrative entries that, depending on the number of victory points that you have, you would read that outcome, so to speak, or that moment in time. And then you would write them down in these era sheets that you would have. You could even like make a map of your town. You can make a map of what things looked like on the countryside. So it was this cute little attempt to make a narrative addition to what otherwise is a very point-driven game. I do want to keep this because I like these cards for some reason. These guilds that you play, they also feel nice for some reason. It's really weird. But yeah, it has like these nice little map things, but most importantly, they have these buildings. And these buildings I can repurpose definitely in open world journey exploration games, which is an upcoming video, by the way, that I'm going to make. But yeah, these things are great for scenery. These things are great for indicating a tower in a science fiction game where you need to go to, or a castle. Look at that. It doesn't get much more trope than that. An actual castle where you need to go to. And then all these little huts for villages on the map. Like, this is brilliant. Component-wise, this game is really absolutely stellar. I'm not sure what I would use these dice for, but you could use these dice for story dice, just to tell a story, for instance. So yeah, some of these components I'll definitely use, I'll definitely cannibalize, and I don't feel like I'm doing a disservice to the community by not giving it away or selling it to them, because this is a game that you can easily pick up at your friendly local game store. It's not a rare game at all, so cannibalize it is. Okay, Return to Dark Tower, restoration games. I just did a video about a Funko game, which is all about nostalgia in games, and that was The Goonies. Check out link below. No, I'm not going to put everything below because I'm probably going to forget by the time this video comes out. But anyway, Return to Dark Tower is based on the popular 80s or 70s or 90s game. I'm not sure. I never actually played it. I played this game. I didn't play the original game. But it essentially is buried underneath of this all, this huge tower that goes into the center of the board, and all around it are these lands that you can walk around in and try to solve a sort of a pandemic style events from breaking out or happening and preventing automatic game losses. Places where you put like little monuments or towers or structures on that you can go to and remove skulls from that fall out of the tower. That's basically how you otherwise lose the game if you don't do that correctly. And look at it. It has gorgeous miniatures in it. The art is great. It's somewhere buried underneath here. I'm not going to pull it out because that means removing all these miniatures. Just look at that. The miniatures I've already pre-painted, sprayed them up. So this is definitely something that I could use for instance, the upcoming story of Many, which doesn't have miniatures, or it just has sort of like placeholders for miniatures that you could put other characters in. For instance, this guy could be like a robber baron or something. This, by the way, these are the one of the structures that you place skulls in. So yeah, the skulls, these monuments, these miniatures, I can definitely repurpose, and it wouldn't take up the entire box, because the tower I would not repurpose. For what? It takes up a lot of space. There's batteries involved, which always run dry as soon as you put them in, I guess. It's definitely a design flaw, if you ask me. It's a fun enough game, but it's, once again, all about points. There's no campaign. There's a little bit of story that you follow as you go through a specific scenario. So it should have actually gone into the second pile, but cannibalize. Dungeonology. Oh boy. Dungeonology. Ludus Magnus Studios, what are you doing? This is probably the Triplock of Ludus Magnus Studios. They have a lot of successful games. Black Rose Wars is one of them. Nova Aetus Renaissance is my favorite. But as great as the production value is, look at that gigantic boss monster. And I love painting them up. Here's Leonardo da Vinci. This is a little invention. I love painting these guys, and I like that they put in like extra 3D terrain pieces in it. These are just the miniatures. Let me show you the actual game. But yeah, the game, that's where the problem lies. Ludus Magnus Studios just has a problem with games that are anything more than player versus player, competitively mechanical enterprises. Like, you fight each other. Like almost all of their games, Black Rose Wars, DEI, Dungeonology, are games where you go into an arena or a set of tiles and you find each other and you thwart each other, you fight each other, you conflict. There's a lot of conflict involved. And then you get points. That's basically what it is. Nova Aetus Renaissance is not like that. That's why I like it, because that truly is an adventure campaign. So this is actually, you can follow that on one of my videos as well, was a Mappamundi Dungeonology hybrid that I was trying to make. That eventually went nowhere. I tried to make a narrative adventure where you would go through a Mappamundi RPG gameplay using the theme and the setting of Dungeonology. The problem was Dungeonology is not a very narrative game. It is thematic, but it's not very narrative. And so I took the weakest point of essentially Dungeonology, and I took the weakest point of Mappamundi, which is its rule system because it's very organic, it's an RPG, and the solo RPG is regretfully not that strong. And so the whole experience just fell flat. That's unfortunate. But yeah, the rulebook. They came out with a new rulebook, which does make things a little bit clearer. Problem with this game, oh, here's actually a miniature campaign mode. Go figure. So they did have a campaign mode where you play through the months, and you play through the characters. And granted, that is nice, but you're still just playing a numbers game. So I may just read through that, but not actually play it anymore. And then, yeah, the components, you can't blame Ludus Magnus Studios for poor quality components because they do stellar stuff. They really do. Half the work here is just how gorgeous everything looks. Like, for instance, these are the player boards and they're all unique. They didn't have to do that, but they did. You place a card here, which matches nicely up with your ability scores. You put cubes here, which is the way that you win the game. There's a little dial for your sort of magical power that you have. And this is an overlay for a wintry period of like little miniature students that you put in here as a timer where you draw cards and when things escalate. This is one of the bigger tiles where you put the cubes that you're collecting in and a monster that you fight. And so these tiles are awesome. The miniatures are awesome. The cubes are kind of standard. So I will definitely cannibalize this game for use in other games because it would be a waste to do away with that. But I honestly, I wouldn't recommend anybody actually playing this game because it's a take that game that just takes, and you'll see that in a minute with D6 as well. It's a take that game that just takes way too long when you start playing take that and being mean to each other. And so the 90 minutes that says on this box here, you can easily multiply that by 3. Like, this is like literally a 5-hour affair if you keep on thwarting each other. And that's the problem with this design. Cannibalize. Finally, the Everrain. Everrain was another disappointment. It took forever for Grimlord Games to come out with this. I think I waited like 4 years or so. And then when I got it, it was, yes, a Lovecraftian, Cthulhu-esque, seaborne, if not directly pirate game. The components are nice. You can feel where this is going. I mean, again, it always comes down to the miniatures, I guess, right? But like, these are just like sort of minions and henchmen. They're not even like the main characters. I think there actually are no main characters. That may have been the problem a little bit. I think this is a game where you play a crew on a ship. Oh, I don't think that's true. It is true. You play a crew on board of a ship, and you have to go on these tiles that you flip over. You don't know what's on there yet, and they're phased, like phase 1, 2, 3, getting increasingly worse as you go from tile to tile. You have ship tiles in here somewhere, for instance, here, ship tile. And you go from tile to tile, you calculate your path, and you go to like islands or shipwrecks, and you do things there, like you raid like a shipwreck and you get items, or you go to like an island and you find a treasure, or you go to an harbor and you have some harbor events. But everything is so, how to say it, so minimal narrative wise. It's more gameplay than it is actual narrative exploration or story exploration, and the game is freaking long. It takes like 4 or 5 hours just to get through it. The acts are so long, it wears out my patience. But then, yeah, look at that. The components, really nice. The dice, the luxury dice, disappointing compared to how they were shown on the crowdfunding page, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, and for instance, is this, like, are these the cards? Yeah, so these are some of the event cards. And I don't even think there are that many. Like, you go through these cards like 2 or 3 at a time, and then I think this is literally it. This is literally the story in the entire game. It's just disappointing. It's a disappointingly long experience where it's all about managing a ship, making sure that you get the crew that you need, that the monsters you fight don't overwhelm you. And it just takes so freaking long. Anyway, I'm definitely not going to replay this for a last time. I am just going to cannibalize this right out because I do have, just like my Wild West experience, I do have an Ultimate Pirate experience that I want to concoct and put together. So that will be part of it. This is the first batch of games which have no campaign and no story. I'm going to clear the table a little bit to push more games on there, and then we're going to look at the second tower. The second pile, or second tower as I call it. These are the games that have a limited campaign, limited narrative elements to it, but they are still no full campaign, or they're not fully narrative. Case in point, Carnival Zombie. Again, a very lavish production of takes place in my favorite city in the whole wide world. See if you can guess which one it is. Leave in the comments below. But you play these Renaissance Italian characters, should give you a hint already, who go around a watery city. I'm not even leaving much up to speculation at this point. But you play like this little campaign of like surviving the night, essentially, in, I'm just going to say it, in Venice. So you have like this ginormous board, this map, where you go through the city of Venice, and on each location, 3 times, you have to fight off hordes of zombies. It's a tower defense zombie game. So you play in the center, you put your miniatures there, and the zombies, represented by cubes, they come in from all sides, and their bosses, represented by miniatures again, are placed here on the side. You see the vitals of each character as they diminish, and they diminish rapidly. It's a very difficult game. I equate this almost to harder than Ghost Stories, which is a notoriously hard game to play. This is possibly even harder to win, I find at least. You may make it through the first scenario, but you never make it through the second, let alone the third. But yeah, you see these characters here. They all have like a little bit of background. There is some story to it, but it essentially is a tower defense game. The production, like I said, is lavish. There are some gorgeous scenario cards that remind me of Robinson Crusoe's Island. Is that the title? Where like each one like looks truly unique compared to another. You can fight like a sea monster, you can fight like hordes of zombies, or just a zombie, few bosses or something. There are different feelings to each scenario where you feel that it truly is unique. Like this isn't a very extended one. It's just, you know, there's a lot here. There's a lot of content here. This is the Venice guide. Shows you a lot of background. Now you have these tiles where you drop the zombie cubes on. And these tiles can have different shapes, because the idea is that when you drop these zombie cubes on, any that fall off represent zombies that arise once again, get a second life. So you really trying like this little dexterity game to keep the zombies on each of these boards. Like, here you go. You're trying to like keep them on there, because each one basically means it will come back again. So that adds to the tension, because you get more nervous as that little tile runs full and you're threatened to get overwhelmed. But look at this board. This board is just, it's gorgeously illustrated. I really have to give it to him. And there's 2 sides to it. It's sort of semi-glossed, as you can see. I'm holding it upside down, but that shouldn't matter, I think. Here you go. This is another side, an alternative board that you could play. And then, of course, because this is the 2nd edition deluxe version, they had to outdo themselves. And so they did it with, like, look at this inlay where it actually explains which character goes where. Gorgeous. Absolutely. Even gets like a cute little coin that goes along with it. Boom. Now you can play with standees if you want, so you don't have to worry about gray plastic decorating your board. Then you have screen printed obstacles and crates, for instance, to protect you from the zombie horde. Oops, I put all those tokens in there. That's all right. It doesn't really matter. And you can see the miniatures here, with the exception of the big sea snake that roams around Venice, supposedly. The miniatures themselves are okay. They're not best of quality or the worst of quality. They're serviceable. These are one of the characters, and it's modern Venice, so they have like shotguns and rifles and stuff to keep the hordes at bay. Ooh, yeah, this is kind of a mess in here. That's not great. Oh, this is one of the tiles, for instance. Can you imagine dropping cubes on that? Not a lot of cubes will stay put on that thing. Oh, and now I'm dropping more tokens in there. Well, aside from my own clumsiness in this game, maybe because I'm nervous that the zombies will bite my fingers, I have also probably not opened this box since I moved from Ireland, where I lived previously, to us now living in the Netherlands. So everything got shook up in the move, and because I have not opened it since, which is a good indicator and a good rule for culling your game, everything has shifted and moved around. Oh, one last quote. You're about to face the Leviathan. Be brave and don't give up, even in the darkest hour. So, gorgeous game. What to do with it? Cannibalize, give away, or play it one more time? I think I'm just going to give it away. It's a big box. It's time that it goes. Tales of Arabian Nights. Giveaway. For those who don't know Tales of Arabian Nights, it's a very luck-driven open-world adventure game where you move around with your character and you read adventures, essentially. There's a matrix in here where you track down what exact paragraph you need to read in the book. So, for instance, if you want to pray to a magnetic mountain, you go to entry 21011, or if, for instance, you decide to attack a lovesick person, I don't know why you would do that, but yeah, so it's not logical at all. It's just a very luck-driven, as I said, experience. This is fun for the family. This is fun for people around the house who enjoy family-friendly games. There's nothing that might deter you from playing this. There's no real small pieces that children can swallow. But anyway, I liked the Arabian Nights theme. I like story games. This just has no coherence to it. And so it's like Lands of Galzyr. This similar to this will come up that just in a moment, but this one is just going to go. I'm going to make someone happy with this game. Forest of Radgost. This again is going to hurt my friend Ethan, who really adores this game, who really adores the Slavic folklore tradition. I think it's actually really nice. I do like folklore games. I'm keeping Zarifia, which also is Slavic lore, and it kind of makes this game obsolete, which brings up a point that I think Posh Frosh may have mentioned on Discord. And that is that one of the reasons that you make cull games is because it gets bumped off by another game that just does the experience better. I think that Zarifia just does a better experience for me personally, because it has more story, more campaign, a little bit more crunchier mechanics. Well, a little bit, very much more, because this is like easiest level, move your character and have an event. That's all this game is, really. But it's this, if you're talking about family-friendly games, it doesn't get much more family-friendly than this, because this is definitely something that your whole family would like. You play a character, one of the Slavic named characters in this game. You can play kids, you can play an old person. So in that regards, there's like, you can play Darina. Look at how lovely Darina is. You put your cards that you collect in there. I had this game with standees originally. I didn't really need the miniatures for this game. It was just fun to sort of just walk around. See, these are some of the things that you can pick up aside from Forest Mother's advice. These are some of the things that you may encounter, actually. These may be encounter cards. Hazelnuts, Morning Dew. So it's all very light and sprightly. And the idea is that you basically just find the two kids who have gone missing from your village, and you make your way back without upsetting the local folklore creatures too much. There's no death in this game. It's all just it's all very friendly. You can't lose though. This is the rule book. I don't even know why it should be this thick, because there's nothing to it. There are story dice that go along with it that you can create your own little story with. It's kind of like Rory story cubes. I like that. Oh, there's background stories. And when I did actually see the miniatures, and I thought, okay, well, it's nice to have these big cards as standees. I thought these miniatures would also be really nice to paint up. So I traded my cards away for miniatures instead. And then I just started painting them up. That was a good trade. So some Slavic characters, for instance. And these, I think I can use in Game Zarifia, ironically. Because I do think that Serifia suffers a little bit from being a little bit too dark, and so this is a little bit more lightheartedness to put in there. And that's it. There's really nothing else to this game. It's roll, move, and experience. Now, mind you, there are discussions that I have on Discord on a regular basis that are about the complexity of board game experiences and when something feels too complex or when something shouldn't be as easy as that it is. That's a topic for another time. I do think that complexity is overrated. I think that if you have a good experience, it's valid for whatever reason. And so you don't have to have a lot of crunch. But this is really super light. Ages 14 plus, I would say easily 7 plus instead. 1 to 7 players, 40 to 90 minutes per game. That's pretty accurate actually for once. But this definitely is going to be cannibalized because I will use these miniatures, take the story dice out, and probably do away with the rest. 4 more games in the stack of limited campaign, maximum theme, but still one-off games. The Order of Vampire Hunters. We got a few dark ones here. I don't know exactly what to say about this other than Darkgate games are kind of all clones of one another. So if you have the follow-up to this, which takes place not in modern day, but in medieval times, it's pretty much the same game. You can see that I have salvaged sometimes parts already. These are from expansion boxes that came with the game. I threw away the boxes, but I thought that these would be kind of fun to have and use in certain things. Yeah, I don't even know if I really ought to go through this. This is very dark and bloody. This is like Lost Boys and Buffy the Vampire Slayer mixed in without any of the fun or the cuteness, and it's brutal, it's gory. I've never used so much red in painting these miniatures because it is just, yeah, it's pretty mature. The quality is not great of this game, to be honest. You have these placards that you put cards on. The cards slide all over it all the time. You have a night and day timer that basically keeps track of when the vampires become awake from their sleep and start attacking you. And during the daytime, you can actually fight them and kill them as many as possible before they kind of overwhelm you towards the end. But part of the game mechanics, which I think is actually kind of novel, is that when you lose a combat and a vampire bites you and the vampire turns you into one of their vampires, you keep on playing. You just have different priorities now. Like now you're fighting for the vampires instead of for the vampire hunters. And you can be turned back, at which point you're fighting for the vampire hunters again. This is a messy game though. And it's kind of a game that belongs in the period that ended 10 years ago. This would have been awesome in the 1990s, but now in 2026, this is, this just won't cut it anymore. I always find that when I get like a cardboard box that is undecorated like this, that just has miniatures in it now, and I do think they came with trays originally. I toss all the trays out for space, but yeah, you can see it's a mishmash of ugliness, basically. Purposeful ugliness. Like you have like these super bloody characters. Then of course you have the odd crossovers with Madara. You have Nyx here playing, yeah, I guess one of the characters that you can play. It's interesting. But yeah, just your typical gross out monsters. And I have games that do this already and they do it better. I have Dawn of Madness. There's one here, Dark Rituals, but that one I'm doing away with as well. I do have some games that are a little bit more bloody than I want to. Oddly enough, there's characters in here from, well, let's see if you can remember what game this is. I remember what game it is. I'll give you one hint. It's a legacy game. If you know where these characters come from, put it down in the comments. But yeah, you can see that this is a hobbyist dream. I think that Rob from Rob's Gaming World, I think, and maybe Daniel from the Dungeon Dive, they might have liked this game. I think Rob more than Daniel. Daniel would say there's too many miniatures in here and it's too complex or something, too messy and too much space it takes in. But I feel like this is kind of like a grognard kind of a game that people from the 90s may enjoy more, who just want to go in and shoot stuff. That's not the experience that I'm looking for anymore. So seeing that I have enough campaign games, even though I think there is a miniature campaign attached to this, if I'm not mistaken. Then again, I could very well be mistaken, because I haven't played this game in a significant while. Nor will I play this game ever again. The idea was at some points that I would play a triptych of 3 games. I would play a 1,000-year-old vampire solo role-playing game to establish a lead vampire. Then I would play this game to have people run around slaughtering these vampire children of this vampire lore that I'd created with a 1,000-year-old vampire. And then inevitably some of these characters would be turned into vampires. And so they would flow over into another vampire game, which is Vampire the Masquerade Chapters. So that triptych sort of campaign style, experience I wanted to play, it never really happened. Like I played a 1,000-year-old vampire, I thought it was a great experience. I played this, it was a mediocre experience. And then Vampire Chapters was kind of a little bit of a disappointment. I still have the game because there's something to be said for it. I think there's something to be rescued there. But this one, unfortunately, is the weakest of the 3. So I don't even think I'm going to keep the miniatures of this, so I might just give this away. We'll see. But yeah, this is a giveaway pile. Dark Rituals. This forms actually a kind of a similar pattern. I actually won this game from Derek from Kanye Studios. Kanye Studios, sorry. This actually does have like some kind of miniature campaign to it. Yeah, here you go. Or at least encounters, I guess, that you can play out. There is some story to it. I may actually give this one more try. I don't know, I feel like I haven't given this its due. And this game is a very classic kind of a dungeon crawl-ish kind of skirmish game where it's not really about exploring things, it's about going from tile to tile and defeating the hordes of baddies that are coming your way. And the baddies are, like I said earlier, gruesome. They are not pretty. I think this game is the 2nd out of 3 games that I really painted up very gory and very mature. And I don't know, like painting is an experience in itself. And when you start painting something like this, where some baddie's guts are hanging out and he's full of hooks, and sure, he's supposed to be an undead, but you paint like 3, another 6, and then you paint like 20 more similar kind of characters. I don't know, you start getting very depressed. But yeah, you can see, now there's one miniature in here. I'm not even sure I should be showing you because it looks like he has something hanging out of his body that's very anatomically correct. But yeah, so it's not a pretty game. Besides which, despite getting this core box for free, thank you, Derek, he did away with it. I think he even got it from someone, but it's only the core box. And the problem with this is that at the time of crowdfunding, someone told me it came with a number of expansions, and those expansions really lift up the core experience. And so it's what I call the CMON experience, when you get like a core box that is kind of crap, and it only becomes better when you have the expansions to alleviate it. It's also fairly damaged, as you can see. It didn't survive the shipment so well. Then again, I might play this one more time because I've only played it one time, and then I'll probably give it away. All right, Touch of Evil, the Coast expansion with Nathan Fillion. No, that's not Nathan Fillion. He just looks like it. Okay, despite that this is the expansion box, this actually holds the whole game, which is great. Touch of Evil came in like this big deluxe version box, and I shrunk it down because space is one of the reasons why we're doing this culling exercise. But look at this, I actually managed to fit everything in there. Now, if you know Flying Frog Productions, who are also responsible for Shadows of Brimstone, you know that they love old-fashioned style components. So these components, for instance, they're like plastified cards. Not a big fan of that. Problem that a lot of people found with this game was the photorealistic art, which I actually think is kind of endearing, especially with this game, which is all about sort of like the Salem witch trials era of grungy American frontierism on the East Coast, at least. And the whole idea of this game is that you just go through this village. See, it's the 10-year anniversary edition. That you go through this village, and there are, I think, 3 boards on this village. You go from one spot to another, and you just have adventures, and you in the traditional sense of an adventure game like this is you pick up items that will help you, you fight creatures that accost you, and I don't actually even think that there are miniatures in here other than, I think these are your characters that you play. You play like busts. I think so, at least. Yeah, I do think that that's the case. I don't know where these miniatures come from. They're not, I don't think they belong in there. Maybe they do. I don't know. This is one of the games that I really have not played a lot. It's a very eclectic and acquired taste of a game. The boards are really small, which is kind of nice. So for instance, you have this, but yeah, it's a very sort of East Coast American turn of the century kind of an experience where you play on these boards and you move from spot to spot and stuff just happens. And that's the kind of how Flying Frog games work. Stuff happens. I'm not a big fan of stuff happens. So it was a nice experiment. These are actually really nice. They're like wax tokens that you can use. Oh, wow, explosion of wax tokens. Great. All right, well, I'll clean those up later. Wow. It's that I don't do outtakes on these videos, but yeah, so you have these wax tokens and you place them as wounds, which I think are really cool. I would keep these. I think I just got wounded by all this stuff. Oh well. Yeah, but you just go along having these events and they're fun. It's very much in the style of Tales of the Arabian Nights and Forest of Radgost, and actually a lot of these games that I'm now doing away with because they have no real, they have no real continuity or coherence with one another. Okay, this box is piling out, not to mention I've dropped half of it on there. Well, excuse me for again. I actually will play this one more time. Talking about wandering around a land where events are standalone and don't really matter in the long run. Lands of Galzyr, the latest acquisition of a open world journey game or an exploration game. Lands of Galzyr is part of a game from Snowdale Design that takes place in a bigger world. I think Dawn of Peacemakers is one of them. There's a third game that's in there. And it's very cute. It's very colorful, which I liked. It's a big step away from the games that you just saw. There was an expansion, Dreams of Mysteries, that came out. And it is a sort of a card game, kind of like Seventh Continent or Seventh Citadel, with the exception that a lot of the story is not on these cards, it's on an app. And if you're not a big fan of apps, then you will not necessarily like this experience, but it is sort of a half and half. It's not all in the app, or it's not all analog. The idea is that you play one of these animals, these animal characters, and their attributes are represented on this dial, and you go around this land. Do I have the land? Yeah, because these are just trays that's come out, which is nice. More and more, you can see that this is already a modern game in the sense of how they pack everything into the box in a way that is easily removable and easily put back again. But this is the map that you play on, and it's a very modest little map of a cute little animal landscape with places to put cards that change the places, the cities that you go to, or the place that you go to. And you move around from node to node. You visit these locations, you pick up a side quest, essentially. It's the game of side quests, really. And then you have to do something in a different place. And so you have to go all the way over there and do something there. In the meantime, a calendar runs out and eliminates quests or invalidates them, or just runs its course to the point where the game ends. And sorry, I realize that you can't really see this down here. This is the calendar where everything just takes place, and eventually things run out and the game comes to an end. And whether you've accomplished your missions or not, sorry, I just showed the wintry side because there's also a wintry side. It plays on calendar months, so the winter months take place on this side. Whether you have accomplished your tasks or not, the game just comes to an end, and I think it's based on points, if I recall correctly. But it's a very thematic kind of an adventure. Like, they didn't have to make this little map, this sort of like tourist map to the land, but they did, and it adds to the charm of it. It's a very charming game, and I would love to keep this in my collection, but I'm not. The reason for that is just there's no coherence, there's no campaign. You just keep on playing until you're bored with it. Like, I really appreciate what they went for here. I really appreciate how easy and how colorful it looks. But ultimately, for me, it has less significance if you're just doing stuff in the land. At least Seventh Continent had one big curse of a sort of a campaign that you would go through until you accomplished it, and then it would have 6 or 7 more curses. Seventh Citadel actually has scenarios that you play through, but Lands of Galzyr is just a one-off game, and one-off games just don't do very well for me. So I will not even play this again. I'm just going to give this straight away. Okay. I'm going to skip one game to the final end because it's the biggest one, but this is the pile that are full-on campaign games, full-on narrative, and I'm still getting rid of them. Now, these are my favorite types of game, mostly because I consider board games that I have in my collection and I curate to be kind of interactive story experiences. So where books and movies are very passive and you're just looking at them, narrative adventure board games give me the opportunity to actually dig into a world and interact with it and engage with a living world feeling. Now, these are the worlds that gave me the least living world experience, so to speak. And so they are the first ones to go. Let's have a look at them. Sometimes I call these games because other games do them better. Sometimes I call these games because I'm just finished with them. There was a game in here, The Goonies, Never Say Die, that I've just done a review of. And that is this kind of game, a small campaign game. So I just played through the entirety of it and have already culled it. So let's go through these. Sleeping Gods. All right. So I'm just going to say straight up, there are 2 games of this series, Sleeping Gods and Distant Skies, the sequel. And Ryan Laukat has knocked it out of the park with these games. He really has. I think the Sleeping Gods series are the pinnacle of his career of both visual and narrative storytelling. Having said that, Distant Skies is just not as good as the original Sleeping Gods. Why is that, despite the beautiful inside of it? The reason for that is that it just feels less than the first one. The first one took place in a ship that you sailed around islands with, and you went on adventures, and you had to find one of the Sleeping Gods totems, I think, to get back to your home world. This one takes place on a plane. It's something similar, but it's not as good, I think. It's mechanically considered the stronger game by many content creators, but I don't play games for their mechanics. I play games for the immersion, for the narrative experience, and I just think that this one is a little less than the original. Having said that, there are some improvements even narratively. I think there's a lot more of these kind of maps that you play around, which already give you a good feel. It's kind of almost like a Dragon Eclipse kind of feel when you look at it. There are also fewer characters that you have to manage. I think even the plane mechanics, this is the plane board, are simpler, I think, than doing the boat. This is the expansion, but this is an example of the map, for instance. And so this just does not appeal to me as much as being on a boat and sailing from island to island, which has that Odyssey kind of a feel. This is very much like going around a landscape in Switzerland with a plane or something. I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me to that degree. So it's just purely the theme, really, when it comes down to it. And then if I have to choose between playing Sleeping Gods for an hour or 2, because now we're getting into the business of time. The 3 pillars of why you come to an end of your game hobby is you don't have any time left, you don't have any space left, or you don't have any money left. Well, I've reached all 3 of those points. So for me, it's just a matter of, in this case, not having the time to play through this Distant Skies. I just don't have the time to play through Distant Skies anymore. Having said that, it's still gorgeous. I think Ryan Laukat is top of his game. I know that not everyone loves it, but I do. The characters, they have their backgrounds. There's fewer characters in here than Sleeping Gods, which is actually a stronger point to make. So, but I still had to find some kind of tray solution for myself, but oh well. This is your plane. There's adventure cards on there. Anyone who knows Sleeping Gods, I encourage you, if you don't, just to look up images of it. It's a gorgeous game. It's a gorgeous production. This one even came with miniatures. And the miniatures, again, are not the greatest of miniatures, but that doesn't matter. This is, you know, I think that what shines through here is that Sleeping Gods was, to me at least, it heralded this new age of like new design for Ryan Laukat, where he was now finally focusing more on the narrative side and letting a little bit go of the mechanical side. Well, with Distant Skies, he actually showed that he cares very much about the mechanical side and is willing to actually double down on his designs to go back and tinker with them, which normally is great. Here's a quest, for instance, which normally is great, but, you know, again, I don't necessarily care for the mechanical side. I don't play a game for mechanical prowess. So, yeah. You can see that I haven't played a lot of this game, so that might also give you an inkling of a thought of where this one is going to go. You're right. One more time. Also, one more time, and a game that I might actually take with me on my current trip is Legacy of Dragonholt. Fantasy Flight Games at the top of their game, no pun intended, by bringing out books. Basically, their idea of a choose-your-own-adventure role-playing game that you can play solo. But everyone loves this game. Everyone loves this game. Everyone who is worth their salt in adventure game and narrative games loves the granddaddy of these kind of games, Legacy of Dragonholt. Let's see, Nikki Valens, she did a great job of creating an experience that resembles a role-playing game. Something that Role Player Adventures kind of did later on, but this truly gives you a feeling of like, I'm playing a role-playing game and I get to go on an adventure. And the game doesn't have a lot of components. It has a few cards of important items that you have to find in order to get through this adventure. And it really is just one big adventure, chopped up into several chapters. But you have like your character sheet, you have keywords or keys that you actually mark off to indicate a memory in the game of, have you checked off D4? Yes, I have checked off D4. Okay, then this happens. And if it doesn't, then something else happens. I've even like mapped out which paragraphs I've gone to because I want to go back and see what I've missed in the meantime. But I might actually play this one more time just to pick up where I left off, because I think I have gotten to like maybe 20% of the game. I just want to play a little bit more and then see where it goes. Lord of the Rings. I recently played this with a friend and actually came to the conclusion that this game is one of the rare games that is much more fun with other people than by yourself. It is Fantasy Flight Games and it is an adventure game of exploration, but exploration in this case is more fun with someone else, especially someone who loves Lord of the Rings, than it is to do it by yourself. You go on these tiles, and these tiles are basically dungeon tiles, only you're not in a dungeon, you're on the landscape, and you're going around and you know, well, hopefully you won't fight a Balrog, but, or that's, I don't even think that is a Balrog necessarily. No, it's not, but it is a demon of sorts. But like, these are your characters. And I painted them up in a marble and mud pattern to indicate just who are the heroes and who are the monsters, but, or the enemies. But mostly because I just didn't want to paint these characters anymore, because already from right off the bat I found this to be a slightly disappointing experience, mostly because it didn't feel like Lord of the Rings. It felt like a casual fantasy game with the Lord of the Rings IP slapped onto it. Having said that, the tiles are gorgeous and the art is nice, but I think I truly feel like, is this Andrew Navarro? No, Nathan Hadjak. I feel like they dialed it in a little bit with this one. They had the IP. They basically took Mansions of Madness and Descent, and they kind of abstracted and distilled it to something that feels soulless. So this does feel soulless. I will play it one more time though, because I did have fun with the adventure, but I'll probably race through it. Ryan Laukat, we just talked about him. Sleeping Gods, now Near and Far. The last game that I have of Ryan Laukat that is not belonging to the Sleeping Gods collection, I did away with Above and Below already. Near and Far is actually the better game of those, so don't even bother with the Above and Below Haunted Village or something I think it's called, because this one is definitely the stronger version of it. There's some RPG material in there from the Arzium video that I did about them. There is some some stuff in here that relates to the Above and Below and Near and Far combination game that I created. I won't be using that anymore because I already culled Above and Below. And then this is the map. This is the open world exploration map in chapters, scenarios that you go through until you come to the very end, the last ruin. And there is actually a campaign to it. So you can actually play this. There are story snippets to it, as common with the earlier Ryan Lockett games. That actually set me on the path of like, hey, a Euro game can also be very enjoyable as an adventure game. This is the town that you go to, daytime, nighttime, different styles. There's an expansion, one of several, I think, Amber Mines that also includes like mine cards. There are nice dice that are on here. There are some gems that are on there. I generally like how Ryan Lockett produces his games. I love that he still explores the edges of narrative adventure and Euro game, but it's still a little bit too Euro for me. It's a little bit too mechanical. There's too much going on that feels like it belongs more in a victory point one-off game than a campaign game. Having said that, I will probably cannibalize this because I do like some of the components that are in there. Okay, rushing through to the final 3 games. The Shivers. The Shivers, I would not be surprised if you've never heard of. Pop Fiction Games brought this out in, I think, around 2019 or 2020. And it's a pop-up mystery game. Very cute, at the level of complexity of Force of Radgost, where it's a family adventure in the town of Fogmore Cove, and you play essentially a role-playing game. A role-playing game that has number of rooms, and you have an adventure that I think it's called the storyteller or the narrator, holds behind the pop-up screens. Here, I'm just going to show it to you. It's probably easier. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so the GM, the Game Master, would sit behind here. They would have slotted in this sheet, which explains to them the things going on in this room. And the room is part of like maybe 2 or 3 rooms, it's part of a scenario. And the players on the front, they see this. So they see like this little pop-up, the pop-up room where, of course, things are specific to the scenario that you're playing in. So the painting shows like a woman, the painting, and a bee. There's things in the cabinet that you can open and discover, like a banana. There's a banana in there. What is a banana doing in there? And the characters, they are just these standees, like, for instance, the Ghost Woman or the Penelope, and you just place them on different rooms. So it's like a 3D dungeon crawl, and you have rooms for a whole bunch of variety of things. You have the spooky study. Let's look at that one, because we're on video, so now we can actually see it in action. You have the loathsome laboratory. Look how cute that is. And each one of these rooms comes with cards. And the cards, they are different with every scenario. Because, of course, you have to discover stuff and you have to find stuff. But it is, make no mistake, it is very much a role-playing game adventure that you play with multiple people. I tried doing this solo, and it was nice. There's no solo rules attached to this, so I had to make up my own experience. I basically just walked around the rooms and I opened things and I looked at them and went like, oh, okay, that's nice. Because, of course, this game banks on the mystery of solving a particular Scooby-Doo mystery of sorts. And so, yeah, as cute as this concept was, it's definitely a multiplayer game. So in that respect, it falls like Lord of the Rings under it's much more enjoyable when you don't play it solo. And that for me is a good reason to get rid of games. It's not just space, time, and money. It's sometimes as a solo player, it just doesn't, it's not a good fit. So this one will go in its entirety, because I'm not saving anything of it, to a lucky person. Pathfinder, the adventure card game. Part of my ultimate experience of pirates, my ultimate pirate experience that I wanted to make, but it's all cards. It's all cards. And I've hobbied a little bit with it. Like you see, like I've made player mats for it to put like specific cards in for islands that you go to. I have character sheets or character placemats that you put your characters on. I even went to like Pathfinder websites and printed out adventures so I could actually have some narrative to go along with these cards, because the cards themselves, they present a opportunity to have emergent narrative of you creating your own adventure, but they have no pre-written narrative. They do have scenarios and they do have campaigns, but everything is essentially in the cards. Like I made a log just recording what I was doing, because solo journaling was still something that I enjoyed back then. So then I would track down which islands I went to, for instance. Yeah, and as you can see, it's just a big mess of cards because I have not opened this since my last move again from Ireland. So everything is kind of shuffled through one another, but there are different categories. There's scenario packs that have more cards in them that do hint after a certain story. If there is any story on there, they are on like the campaign cards, but there's a few in each adventure. So I wanted to combine this with some other pirate games that I've had, which come to mind. This Skull Tales Full Sail, I think, is my favorite pirate experience because it's a dungeon crawler. Then I have Forgotten Waters, but that's not something that I can combine with this necessarily. I wanted to have a Zombicide, then Dead Men Talking, I think it's called, but there was just too little for me to hold on there with regards. So this will definitely be cannibalized. I'm just going to put it here because there's no more space over there. Definitely going to be cannibalized for some of the cards that I think would be good to describe characters or items that you might find or something. But there's no location map. There's no miniatures. There's nothing to represent basically real location characters and, well, events, except just that they're all cards. So, and I'm not very much into card games anymore. One more game to go. Okay, this is the big one. D6. D6. 6 things that start with D. They are Dungeons, Dudes, Dames, Danger, Dice, and Dragons. A Certifiable Studios, which we saw in one of the very first games, Endangered Orphans, made this, and this was at the height of my board game curation hobby, so to speak. This was one that I had to have because it resembled nostalgic RPGs, specifically Dungeons and Dragons of a time, and it promised an experience where you would play Dungeons and Dragons as characters playing the heroes, but like, and if I'm stumbling for words, it was very obtuse. It was very kind of meta, and all it really was that you were moving characters around a map, playing in one giant take that game that just had you fighting monsters, other people throwing difficulty cards onto your encounter, making it harder for you to actually play and thwarting you that way. And so a game of this would be drawn out over like 2-3 hours. And for a take that game, it was just too much. The setup time was horrendous. The breakdown time was horrendous. The production is gorgeous. And this is the game that made me really fall in love with Certifiable Studios. Jesse, I think, is the main designer. I'll have to have a look in a minute. But look at this production. Oh my God. I'm heading out to the gym later today, but this already is kind of a workout. And this is a reason why I have to do away with it, because it's too much. It's too much and yet too little at the same time. Certifiable Studios is a game that loves competitive games. It loves take that games. And in fact, I think all of their games are like that. None of them are narrative adventures. None of them are cooperative games. This is all competitive. So first of all, they did think about packaging. You have a player's manual. Look how cool this is. This is so meta, but at the same time, it's also very practical because they literally explain everything in this book. It's actually organized like a random table book. You can see the numbers. And so you roll on tables to actually get like these events, which is awesome. The art is funny. It's whimsical. I think they had recipes in here and poems and stuff. Like it's this whole like extra chapter or appendix what do they call this in old D&D modules, Appendix N or something, where you have like references to other stuff. Then you have an explanation of, like, this is actually where the rule book starts, like at the end somewhere. This is where it starts. So a lot of people are confused by this. It's by far not the best rule book ever written, but it's, again, it's whimsical. And when you see the components, it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, this is definitely a game that will be cannibalized without doubt, because I don't think anybody wants to take that game that lasts 3 to 4 hours. I have some character sheets. This is also a project that I started on BGG to actually add some role-playing elements to it, because it's all very meta and it's all very ultimately just a victory point game where you go around a map, and like these are some of the terrain miniatures that are on there, and you collect points, and whoever wins the most points wins. There's nothing more to it than that, but they have like all these high production value items on there, and I should do an expose on this game, because it really is the most beautiful game, and it's a tribute to D&D, if in form, not if in shape, if not in play style. But yeah, they had to bring out like an extra manual just to clarify the rules, because they weren't great at it. But look at this. This is a hide collection. This is a solo board for when you want to play by yourself and you want to just collect hides, basically, which is the currency. This is the board, which is hilarious. First, let me show you what it normally looks like. This is how it normally looks like. You just have like areas where you move your character in between and you encounter enemies, which are all cards, by the way. They're not miniatures like the terrain you just saw. But then like they made like a whimsical, oh, this is a DM's table where he's mapping out maps, but it's the exact same map, but it's represented in elements on a table, like some mad conspiracy theorist's board, which is just hilarious, but it still works. And then on this board, you place like this little dial that basically indicates what phase you're in. And then instead of this placard, they gave you a coin. And this is a big, fat, chunky coin. This is how far they went with the sprucing up, essentially, of this game and components. So it is absolutely amazing. And the fun doesn't stop there. There are gelatinous cubes that you have as helpers on your friends. You have Scrabble-like wooden tiles that are the numbers that you put on your player board, which we'll see in a minute. You have, let me just hold this up, because I think it will be much more clear. You have gorgeous dice in there, and you have like little miniatures, tokens that you put on your board as well. Let me show you the board, because of course this is just one of multiple trays that comes out. Here are the boards. And so you have these boards where you don't put these cards on there. You put the hero cards on there, but there's no hero cards on there yet. But you put your hero card in here, you put your gelatinous cube there, you put your potions or your action cubes there, you put your potions in here, stat cubes, you put the Scrabble dice in here. And this is just the cleric. You have several archetypes of characters. You have the explorer, the woodland, the slayer, and all of them come with their own stylized board. You have these tokens, which are your health tokens, or the health bonuses that monsters get where other players thwart you from defeating them. And then these are your characters. The characters also come as standees, but these are the character images that you put on your board, in your player board. And on the back, when you get demunitized, you get like these little chibi figures that you turn into. And then you only get to roll a d4 instead of a d6 or a d10 for your weapon, because you've been turned into like a little turtle. It is so adorable, this game, because it works with chibis, but it doesn't have chibi miniatures. You have these rule memorizers, these player aids, so to speak, that you put alongside the board to remind you of what things cost and what you can do in cities and stuff. They thought of everything. This is like a packaging dream almost. And here are the standees of the characters that you play. So I definitely need to do an expose on this, because this is just a weird This is such a weird product. You have wooden chips of the monsters that you fight and the hides that you collect. You have coins. These are probably the cheapest, lousiest coins that you would ever find, but still, metal coins. All right, so that's enough for now. It's obvious that I cannot do away with this just yet without at least having one more video of it. Not actually one that I want to keep to play. This will definitely be one game that I will cannibalize, if only because the components are absolutely gorgeous. And ironically, as much as that this game tried to emulate a role-playing game, all it ended up doing was making a whole bunch of components that I want to use in a role-playing game. It just won't be this game. I'll just very briefly just show this. This was the expansion that went into the box as well. And it came with mats. It came with your particularly class token or totem that you would put on your board. These are actually what you would move around with on the board if you don't use standees. And then the coup de grace were these token trays that actually show what the cards are for, and you put them in there. Everything is so thematic. Some more characters that I'm spilling all over the place. Like, it just goes on and on and on. A fountain that you put your coins in. Yeah, I need to show this off properly, but they went all out on this production, and then they tried a couple of more games, but they were all smaller in shape and form, and they were all take-that games. And I think the market was collapsing at that point in time, and so Certifiable Studios regrettably, I think, also ended up not surviving. I think if they're still around, they're not doing anything of this scale, at least anymore. So I will leave this here because this will definitely be a, actually, you know what? I'll put it over here because this will be one more expose that I will keep before it goes over to the cannibalized pile. Okay, guys, this is it. This is the culling in progress. So here we have the games that I'm going to play one more time. There's approximately, I want to say maybe 8 games in this pile that I'll play one more time before I either give them away or I cannibalize them for future use. Then we have in the middle 14 games that I'm going to give away. There are some newer games like Lands of Galzyr, but definitely also some older games. Who knows, they might find a good home. And then there's a bunch of games that will definitely decrease in size to save me space, but whose components I will still want to use for other games. And so I cannot give them away or let alone sell them with those components missing. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed the culling of 36 games down to 0. And whatever you do, make sure that before you cull your games, you keep exploring. Dum, dum, dum.